Year 8s, and welcome to this week's geography lesson. First of all, we're going to have a quick look at the work you did last week, which was all about population density. The theme of this term will be looking back at the population topic that we did in September, making sure we've got a good, thorough understanding of it. So first of all, population density and population, the key words. Population is the number of people in a place. Population density is how people are spread out. And then we've got densely and sparsely populated. Densely means places are crowded, and sparsely means that people are spread out. That leads on to the task you had to do next, where you've got your two islands. You had to make this one sparsely populated and this one densely. And I've just put some crosses, a few spread out on the sparsely one and lots clustered together on the densely one. What you then needed to do is look at pick a city basically and explain why it's densely populated. So you may have picked any city last week, could be London, could be New York, Paris, anything like that. I've chosen London as an example. So I've put London is densely populated. One of the reasons for this is there's lots of tourism there. Now I've put that for a reason because I remember back at the start of year 8, a lot of us were writing that places were like London were very busy because there was a lot of tourists. You've got to think about why people live there, not just why they visit. So I've then gone on to say that this allows lots of people to live there because it creates lots of jobs. Therefore, people will move there to earn money and pay for their house, food and transport. I've given another reason there, and I've talked about roads and airports. And I've said that this allows lots of people to live there because it makes it easy to access, which means people can get there easily and travel to work. The next section, you needed to write a paragraph about either.
I don't know, but I do have a skill you might like. It's called the mind.
I don't know if you can hear that in the background, but that's Alexa talking to me. I have no idea why. So the next bit, you needed to talk about the Sahara Desert or the Himalayan mountains, and you had to explain why they're sparsely populated. So the Sahara Desert is sparsely populated because of the hot climate. That means there's very little rain, so they've got a very low water supply. People will struggle to drink and cook food using water, and it also makes it difficult to grow food. Just bear with me a second, year 8. Alexa, stop. Thank you. So another reason is that land is made up of sand, makes it very difficult to build, and transport becomes very challenging because of the sand. Or you may have done the Himalayan mountains. You might have talked about the cold climate, and you may have said that it makes it difficult to grow food, and the ice makes it difficult to access because it's dangerous. Steep slopes, obviously, with the Himalayas, making building facilities very difficult there. So then there's a lack of jobs. Anything like that is fine. What you need to try and make sure you've done is made a point and then explained it and explained the consequence of it. And then the final task, which some of you have emailed in and shown us, was to find a choropleth map of Russia, a map showing where people live in Russia, and to label the key human and physical features of it. Now, for this week's work, you're going to be doing about the demographic transition model. And the demographic transition model is all about how population changes over time. And if you remember all the way back in September, we looked at this. And what we needed to know is reasons why the world's population had changed over time, but also to try and think if there was a difference between LICs, NEEs and HICs. Now, if we look at a simple version of the demographic transition model here, we've got these 5 stages. And in stage 1, and stage 1 is like an Amazon tribe where people live very remotely and both birth rate and death rate are very high. Stage 2 is more like your lower income countries, your very poor countries, where birth rate is still very high, but death rate is still high, but it starts to drop. Now, because death rate drops, but people are still having lots of babies, the population starts to grow and continues to grow into stage 3, which is like a newly emerging economy like China or India. And you'll notice in stage 3 that suddenly birth rate starts to drop. People start to be able to use contraception, and people don't want to have as many babies. They don't need as many babies to work on farms and things like that. So birth rate starts to drop. It's still higher than death rate, so population is still growing. And then we get into stage 4, which is like countries like us and most of the European countries, where we've got a high population, but our birth rates and death rates are now both really low. People are living much longer, but people are also having less babies. And they do this thing here, fluctuate, where they wobble up and down like this, because sometimes events happen that make death rates increase. The current COVID-19 virus obviously is going to have an impact on our death rate of the country. And during COVID-19, probably people are thinking it's not a good time to have babies, so birth rate will drop while death rate increases. But then after COVID-19, which won't last too much longer, we will then probably see an increase in birth rate, and death rates will then decrease as well. It then moves into stage 5, and stage 5 is like countries like Japan and Germany, where death rate continues to stay low, but birth rate drops even more. It starts to become really expensive to have children in countries like Germany because of the high standard of living. So what I wanted you to do on this, if we have a look at the worksheet you've got to do, is you've got, first of all, some abbreviations for HIC, NEE and LIC, and you need to write down what those abbreviations actually mean, and also give an example of a country that would fit into those. I've given some in the little video so far. Task 2, you've got to match up these keywords with these definitions here as a reminder of what they mean. And then for task 3, you've got 7 questions, about the demographic transition model. And you've got a nice simple version of it here. Again, birth rate, death rate, and the population growth. And then finally, there's a research task. So you've got 2 choices. Number 1, you can research a tribe from either the Amazon rainforest or Papua New Guinea. Find out where they live, what they eat, what facilities they use, and how remote they are. Or you could write what a day in the life of someone in a tribe would be like, and you can use your imagination for that. You won't need to use the internet or anything on what it would be like to live in a tribe. So I hope all that makes sense. As always, email your teacher if you've got any problems or any issues with any of the work. There will be a PDF version and a Word version of the worksheet on Show My Homework, so you pick which one's best for you. And if all you can do is look at it on a screen and write on just a blank piece of paper, that's totally fine. Just make sure you put your name on it and the date and the task numbers down the side. Okay, thank you very much.